Welcome to our latest episode of Ops Unfiltered. Today we have a very special guest, David from ShipInsure.
Hey,
David, how's it going, man?
Great to be here, Jared. Excited to do it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We had this plan for a while. Last one got canceled. Thanks for being flexible and pivoting your schedule. I always prefer doing in-person podcasts because I think we can have a lot more authentic of a conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how's everything going with ShipInsure these days?
Man, it has been really wild. We're incredibly young. We just crossed like 1.3 million, just barely. Hawk Media.
Amazing.
We're stoked about it. Hawk Media, who has 5,000 clients in our space. They have a venture group. They basically invest in companies and then refer a lot of business to them. They just barely put a $500K investment into us, and
That's
we're really stoked
amazing
about
news.
that. We view it as like a 10-year partnership, and we feel like they're going to over-deliver in every way. We're really blown away.
Okay. And just for reference for us, David is the CEO of ShipInsure. Real fast for everybody listening, what is ShipInsure? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so ShipInsure is an option that customers can add at checkout. Brands add us to checkout, typically on Shopify. They install the app. Their customers get the option to protect their order at checkout.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of protecting an order is $1 to a couple bucks. And when it's available for a customer to check out, about 60% of customers will choose to protect their order. If that order has an issue, let's say it gets lost, damaged, stolen, a myriad of other scenarios that happen between it leaving the warehouse and getting to the customer, we do a repurchase. The brand makes a second sell. And
so you cover the cost of repurchase.
100%. So the brand actually makes a full second sell, full revenue.
Oh, okay. I got it.
And the customer solves their problem in a few clicks. And so imagine like a damaged package scenario. The customer usually ships that back to the brand. They no longer need to do that. They just take a picture. We do the repurchase. The customer has a much easier experience.
So you're also doing the customer service on those.
Yeah, so we handle the claims,
do
the service on that. If it's stolen, it's a really awkward conversation for the customer to tell the brand it's stolen and for the brand to handle that conversation. It's much easier to do it in this format. And the customer, it guarantees that they're going to have a smooth experience. The brand has delivers that great experience, makes revenue where they would have lost revenue.
Oh, that's amazing. Cool. Well, but before we dive, we're going to dive way deeper into ShipInsure, what you guys do, how you guys have scaled. I'm curious right off the bat. So you guys just crossed 1.3 million in ARR?
Yeah, and it's like year one of business for us. So
that's amazing. And is this first $500,000 round, is this your first round? Have you guys fundraised before this?
So we have a client who really helped incubate us.
Okay.
And so they put $2 million into us a year ago, and they've been an absolutely amazing partner.
Do you mind saying what customer that is?
Yeah, it's Tanga.com.
Okay.
They're a daily deal site and a really incredible group of people, and they're a big part of our story. Amazing.
Okay, so they help incubate you guys. But honestly, as somebody else who's in SaaS, crossing 1.3 million that fast, I'm curious how you did that so fast. And probably a lot of that plays into your experience before in other companies. But I know you guys have a unique playbook on how you scaled to 1.3 million so fast. Before we dive into it, David, we have you on because you have a unique journey in the tech industry. You've been at a lot of different companies that a lot of people in the Utah scene have definitely heard of. So like Loop, Boostability, Orange Soda, and you played a pivotal role in the scaling of all those companies. So tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, which of those companies did you start out with? What did you do? Like, how would you describe your journey and your career in retrospect?
Yeah, so I would say that back in 2006, and I feel like I've had multiple careers at this point, but back in 2006 at Orange Soda, I started out there as basically the team lead in sales. And a year in, they put me in charge of sales. And at that time, it was basically like 5 reps cold calling. And I saw that as my window. I didn't think anyone was ever going to like hand me an opportunity. I saw that as like my one window. And so I poured everything into it. And pretty quickly, with over like a year, we figured out how to take 5 reps in cold calling up to 40 reps on inbound. Wow. And it was all inbound leads, and Orange Soda became,
What gave you the confidence to go to upper management and push for that type of scale? I feel like if I'm ever in a position like that, I'm always going to be timid. Like, well, things are going good with just the 5 reps. Like, What gave you the confidence to push for such scale?
I think that what really happened in this scenario is that there's multiple pieces that we uncovered here. One was that like I'd spent a year just selling this product all day long, starting from the beginning when I was like just on my phone doing $300 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to pitch it all those times. And so the first thing that happened is I taught the group how to sell like a really custom product. And I knew exactly how to teach that. And then secondly, we had some strategies on our lead gen. We'd find a widget that worked, something that worked to convert. So we had as an example, like submit your website to Google or a free website analysis, those types of examples.
Okay.
And we just deployed those through every channel to generate leads. And when that model was working and converting and the numbers were there, it was like everyone's just like consensus, let's hit the gas and scale that up. And so that's how it came about.
So you got a great lead magnet that you pushed across all channels, and you already had really good reps that knew how to sell. We
figured out how to take a really custom product and sell it, and teach people how to do it.
And real fast, can you explain what was the product?
Yeah, so in that case, it was mostly search engine optimization.
Okay.
And the benefit that I had in that role is that I'd spent every day pitching it. I knew the pitch inside and out. And there's a lot of discovery that goes into that, a lot of education that goes into it. And we were doing a pitch where it would typically be like a single call or a 2-call close.
Oh, okay.
And so it was both an EQ and an IQ pitch. And we got really good at teaching people how to do that and driving them leads that were not smoking hot, but at least warm. And they'd roll into it, do discovery, do education, create emotion, create a vision, resolve concerns, close, and assumptive close. And this is going back 20 years now, but that's what we did.
Amazing. So that sounds like a very transactional sell.
It was.
I'm always jealous of people that can sell transactional things. Like I sell a freaking ERP. So it's like minimum 6 phone calls. That's interesting. What did you learn from that first experience that taught you that I guess, what are some of the lessons you took away on scaling that organization to what you did?
I think that one of the biggest things we did at both Orange Soda and Boostability is we built a direct model first. And once we had a really efficient, great business, we then went out and got partnerships and scaled those businesses out.
So you nailed it before you scaled it.
Yep. And so both businesses, we went to where we had 30,000 active customers.
Wow.
And we brought in customers like people like GoDaddy, American Express, YP companies that white labeled a product and took it to their clients. And we also found another unique model that was a big part of both those companies. And it came about because we started working with Network Solutions. They were a hosting company. They had a hard time selling the product when they tried to be a reseller. Mm-hmm. And so we came together and we came up with a model where they outsourced our sales team to sell a mix of our products and their products to their customers. No way. And what happened with that is that we took things that happened in their system, like maybe someone just added a shopping cart to their website. Mm-hmm. We considered events like that leads. And so instead of just going after let's call this group of customers that are in this category, we called based on a hand raise. It was some kind of action the merchant took. And we considered that like an event. And we called based on that. And we were able to develop the $500K of MRR off of that partnership with Network Solutions. And we then did pods with a bunch of other companies. And when we started Boostability, we developed a model kind of like that with SEO.com. And that was a big part of Boostability getting its founding. Wow. So we developed our direct channel. We brought in co-branded partners and white label partners, and we were able to scale those out. And I would say that compared to the SaaS world today, we had just an extremely high partner-centric approach in how we built those companies.
So, 2 questions. Number one, how do you even approach a company for a partnership like GoDaddy? Like who do you reach out to? What's the pitch? Because even when I hear partnering with such big names, I think even somebody like me in my shoes, sometimes I feel intimidated to go to like a Shopify or in this case, like a GoDaddy. Who do you approach and what do you say to them?
Yeah, I think that this is part of why the nail it before you scale it is part of the equation. I think that as you develop a really exceptional system for what you're doing, and you can point to your team and say, this is why we're great at it. This is why you want to work with us. These are the results that we have. This is who we're already working with. If you've nailed that, then it's easier to go have that conversation. And they can look at it and be like, man, there's no way we're going to do that. We need that benefit. And so I think it's what you said before. It's nail it and scale it.
So the confidence comes from actually having an exceptional product that you can plug into a big ecosystem like GoDaddy.
100%.
Okay. Second thing, so obviously you went over some of the things that you learned, mainly regarding partnerships and scaling, more of a transactional sell. Like when I hear your story, that is such a creative way to get more leads through the door. What advice would you give to other SaaS founders, CEOs, or salespeople on? Or I guess let me rephrase that question. What is, from your experience, what is the number one piece of advice that you think is missing in most SaaS companies go to market?
Well, I think that the first part of that is just that every company is different, and identifying the mix of go-to-market that's going to be the right answer is different for every company. And so I think it's helpful to just like compare every model that's out there. Think about if like, could this apply to our space? And I think like starting from square one, I would go to Google and look at every competitor that's in your space and look at everything that they're doing. I would benchmark off of everyone. And then I'd think about like, what are other spaces out there that are like semi-related? And I'd go look at how they're doing all their go-to-markets. And I'd look at like, I'd try to see, first of all, like what's every way that everyone is going to going to market, and which one of those actually apply for us at our stage? Which ones can we do right now? I think that's like a way to get started on it. And then ultimately, I think the belief that if you're passionate about something, if you care more about it than anyone else, you can find some way to do something better.
Right.
And so just having like that belief that if you spend passion and time on that idea, and like when you wake up, it's like what comes to your mind. When you're in a shower, it's what comes to your mind. If you're in that kind of a mode, you're going to unlock those kinds of ideas.
God, I think you being the CEO of ShipInsure and your explosive year of growth, 100% was because of the experience that you've had in the past. What specific things did you apply to ShipInsure in this explosive year?
Yeah, what I would say is that, first of all, ShipInsure is really born out of experience that we've had. And first of all, we like a few years ago, I got to run sales for Route from the beginning there and then build partnerships there. And after that, I was recruited to Loop Returns, which is the leading returns app on Shopify.
These are some big names.
Well,
Utah tech scene.
For Loop, it was honestly, man, like a humbling experience because I went there. They're a Series B company. They brought me in to run partnerships, and they had built such an incredible product already and built deep integrations already. And they had an incredible team that had great relationships with their customers. And when I went there, 3% of their closed won business was coming from partnerships. And the initiative that I took while we were there was to be a net giver out to partners. And like the core of that, there's a lot of ways to drive value to partners, but the core of it is driving leads out to them. Mm-hmm. And we made that a huge focus. We had support across the company to do that. And as a result of that, we were able to drive revenue from partnerships up dramatically. 21 months from when I got there, partnerships representing 60% of closed won.
Wow.
And there's a lot of amazing people that were involved in the decisions that happened there. Aaron Schwartz, who was the president, was a big believer in the net giver strategy. He gave us full focus on that and helped us do that. And really, like having had that experience and looking back on the shipping protection space, what we felt like is that the way the space had been done so far was platform-centric. And we believed that if we went and made the merchant the hero, focused on their needs, customized around the experience that they needed for themselves and for their customers and for what would impact their bottom line, we believed that by itself would help us build deeper relationships. And then secondly, we believed that by building deep integrations in the space that added real value and driving value out to those partners, that we could become the product that merchants loved the most because we we're serving them and allowing them to have a seamless experience. And then secondly, that on the partner side, we could create incredible relationships there and become the first company in our space to really become like a core part of the Shopify stack.
How do you, by the way, I love this net giver attitude. It's something that I'm really learning a lot about as I'm trying to expand partnerships at Luminous. But with this net giver strategy, how do you choose who you give to? How do you dictate, okay, like this is the partnership we're going to go to? Like, for example, if, I don't know, say there's a ton of order management systems out there. How do you choose which one you're going to build an integration to and which one you're going to start sending leads to?
Yeah, I think the first decision is like, which verticals are we going to focus into? And the very heart of that is the partners that you integrate directly into are number one. And so for us, we integrate into Help Desk Ask, we integrate into Gorgeous. If a merchant is using Gorgeous, their service reps are able to see the status of a claim, file a claim right within that platform. It solves a huge crosstalk problem. And so the heart of that is that we are better together. We have a better together story. And so our integrated partners, we have the strongest story with, and that's the number one place to focus is on integrated partners.
But you guys wouldn't choose one person in a specific vertical. You'd integrate with all of the best ones.
Yeah, I think that you typically do that. And then like we integrate right now into Gorgeous, Zendesk, Freshdesk. That said, we drive the vast majority of our leads out to Gorgeous. And that decision specifically is that Gorgeous is a great partner to us as well. And we believe in what they're doing. We believe in the product we have together. And we work really well together. We help each other all the way through the process. We connect not just at the top of the chain, down the chain, account managers, sales reps, we connect there. And so number one, like we focus on places where where we truly serve the merchant. And then we only work with as many partners as we can deliver value out to. And so in the agency space for us right now, that means that we only choose a few agencies. We drive value out to those agencies. We don't go after 100 right now because we can't drive value to 100 agencies.
Wow.
And so we try to match it to what we can actually handle. And we're great with working with a small partner as long as they're very like dedicated and working back and forth with us. And then we take the first step with partners to try to drive leads out to them. Number one, we just give first.
Yeah, give me an example of this net giver philosophy. What's a recent example of this philosophy and how it served your business?
Yeah, so I think that number one, we've done this with Gorgeous. And so we go out to trade shows where the merchants are the booths. We have a lot of success with that. And one of our reps, Jason Kazarian, goes to a show. As soon as we get our integration, he finds 2 or 3 merchants. I think he found 3 merchants in the first 2 weeks to refer to them just while we're out and about talking to merchants. And he makes 3 referrals out first.
So just being intentional on like, okay, we're integrated with him. I'm going to show them we can drive value.
Yeah, and for us, like we have a value prop together. Like there's a reason for us to pitch this. And we believe in being a giver. And that belief is known across our entire company. And at the end of the day, like we let our sales reps know that like that's an expectation that they're driving leads out as well. One thing we did at Loop is that we started paying for every referral out and doing a competition every month on who could drive the most referrals out. And we do that at Loop as well. We have incentives. The partners offer incentives. And those are all things that we do to help us drive leads out. Okay,
interesting. Yeah, honestly, whenever I hear this, I'm glad that you're sharing this message on a podcast because as a founder of a tech company, your strategy it's very creative and it resonates with me because I'm not somebody who really has a background in partnerships and talking about this. Like life isn't this zero-sum game where one person you need to take all the leads to yourself. So it's really interesting that I think for most tech companies in e-commerce enablement, we can adopt this philosophy and it would probably serve all of us much better. We don't need to hoard all the leads and, only choose who we should give leads to. Like everybody can be connected. Everybody can win here.
I think so 100%. And if I was to describe like most of SaaS, what comes to mind is account-based marketing. And most of a lot of great SaaS companies have grown out account-based marketing. We use account-based marketing, but I think that a lot of times the way that companies set up account-based marketing and partnerships, it feels like they're opposed to each other. And what we believe is that if you build incredibly deep partnerships, you can actually use account-based marketing to further unlock those partnerships. And so when you start looking like down further in the organization, you say, hey, this enterprise account manager is managing a book of business on our partner's side. How can we solve problems for their current customers that are mutual for us? How can we work together to like make them the hero to this customer of theirs?
See, what really hits me as you're talking about this is it's all around the intention of leadership, and it's very much a cultural thing, because I can tell how you've pushed that attitude down into the organization where you're intentionally giving to these partners, and it's set up to like it's not like, guys, we're not just selling ShipInsure. Like we're actually caring about the merchant's needs, and we're seeing where we can align with our partners and help them out as well. That I would just say like I'm seeing like a really big difference between that attitude and then another type of attitude that exists in SaaS, kind of what you're talking about, where it's mainly account-based marketing and partnerships and them being totally separate. Honestly, even as you're sharing this, it pumps me up as the founder of Luminous to be like, man, we could be doing so much more. We could have so much better intentions for our partners.
Yeah, I think for us, it's a core value for us. Like, be a net giver is a core value for us. And it's a really powerful thing because we want to be a net giver to our customer. We also want to be a net giver to our partners. And at the end of the day, like the question gets asked, like, if you're net giving, how do you make money? And what I would say is like, number one, it's an attitude. And if our people go into those calls and they know that we want to give out to partners, that is like who we are, they're going to feel emboldened to like take steps to give. And when we reach out and give, like we create a magnet. And so I think it's important that we start by like make the merchant the hero, give them value, drive value together. Like, let's have a better together story. Let's do something together that creates even more value for the customer. And then let's give to the partner. And what we believe is if we give to that partner and focus on the partners that we actually have better together stories with, we can develop an ecosystem there where we're all creating more value together. And what that leads to is a bigger client base using the integration leads to like a second integration with even more value. It leads to even more value for the customer. And so you end up driving additional value, additional lead flow, additional merchants. And we look at it as a growth lever, but really like is the best way to drive value to customers.
Interesting. Yeah, it's at Luminous, what we do is, because on the ERP back-end inventory space, it's a really complicated market. There's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of point solutions, very few that are like true ERP that can solve a lot of the needs of supply chain that you need in a supply chain ops system. The route that we go is we get on the phone with the prospect or a merchant, and where I think a lot of ERPs go is they try to, the main purpose of that phone call is for you to say, my product is a good fit for you. Here's why. For us, we've definitely adopted the route of we listen to what their needs are. Yeah. And if we're not a good fit, then we're not a good fit. I'll refer competitors to them. Like there's so many times where I've gone on a phone call and I've bet all of my competitors have been like, why is Luminous like we've never talked to Luminous? Like why are they sending us leads? Like I send leads to Katana, I send leads to Cogsy, I send leads to FlexPoint, like all of these competitors. And it's just because like we've done our market research. We know where we're deficient, or maybe not deficient, just like we're not really focusing on. And it's all good. Like if they're a better fit, like I don't want somebody on our system who we're not going to serve. So I think it's a big takeaway from this conversation is we have this education and merchant first mentality, but there's no infrastructure for partnerships though. Like
I think, well, first of all, what I've seen from your team is just like a absolute relentlessness to solve like an incredibly hard challenge. And, I had a brand, mostly from 2014, 2020. But we had like 3,000 SKUs because we were selling kids products that have tons of sizes. And trying to switch an ERP or change that kind of product is incredibly challenging. Like we're talking about like life-threatening to your business if you do it wrong, potentially. And your team's like relentless on solving that problem's been amazing. And what I would look at is that as an ERP, you're touching so many different solutions. And you do have, like, if they can work smoothly with you, that's a value prop to the customer. And so I think you have better to share the stories like up and down your company. And you probably key in and you're like, you know what? These 3PLs are great for us.
Mm-hmm.
And for Loop, logistics became like our number one referral channel.
Interesting.
And it started off as our lowest channel. We found we could drive leads out to the 3PLs better than any other channel. And since we were driving leads to them incredibly well, we also got a lot of leads back.
Got it. This is a little bit of a side tangent, but obviously you've been in e-commerce enablement and tech sales for a really long time. You just said that you ran your own brand for a long time. How did that help you gain more empathy for the merchants?
Yeah, I think that's empathy is the word, because, you know, the amount of challenge we had in like managing that number of SKUs of like rain boots and fishing waders and rain suits, all these products that some of these products are like heavy products, and the shipping costs were a big part of our cost, and the efficiency in that process was a really big deal. And so to me, when I talk to a merchant and like we talk about damaged products or like returns, and I picture like the returns that we're stacking up in my warehouse, and I picture those scenarios, it's still like, I can still feel the emotions of like those scenarios.
Yeah.
So it's massive. Like understanding inside and out, like what are they actually doing on a daily basis? How does that feel to them? What does that look like to them? What are they going to expect out of us on how we perform to make their life easy and to actually solve a problem for them? Like up and down, there's a huge amount of empathy.
Yeah. If you've ever been in e-commerce operations, you realize how many problems there are to solve, which is why there's room for all of us in the e-commerce enablement. There's so many problems.
100%. And I would say that as a merchant, like I think we all know this, but like you're managing like 20 functions in a small business. It's absolutely wild. And definitely like Shopify creates a whole stack for you. But the more that we can be efficient, solve what we're supposed to do, maybe solve multiple problems for them, I think that's a big deal for merchants. And I think that we're going to see a scenario where merchants are going to want us as solution providers to solve a stack of problems together.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see more and more movement towards that.
That's really interesting. I agree. I think you're uniquely positioned to answer this question. What advice would you give to merchants when picking out back-end solutions as they're scaling? Because that's a big piece of this podcast. I always ask this question. We talk a lot about ERPs, but you've had experience as a brand and also a lot of different back-end tech. What are some mistakes that you see merchants make?
Yeah, I would say that like whoever you're using, some of these, I'm sure this is like everyone's playbook, but number one, like if you're going to evaluate anything, before you spend too much time, get right into doing test orders and see how those test orders flow. See if they do everything that you want them to do. See how they affect every system that you're attached to, and see how they affect your actual experience that you're delivering. And I would say that like you can have lots of discussions, but people can put lipstick on anything. Get right into doing test orders and see if it really does solve problems for you and work smoothly with everything that you're doing.
Oh, I love it. That's great advice. Going back into ShipInsure for a little bit. Now that we've gotten your background, we kind of understand what drives you. I understand your strength as a CEO. Tell us a little bit more about ShipInsure. Why did it get started? What motivates you to keep going with ShipInsure?
Yeah, I think that ShipInsure was completely born out of the belief that we could serve the merchants so much better in this scenario. And our belief was that in the shipping protection space, more so than maybe any other space, that someone who really made the merchant the hero there was just such a large opportunity for it. There's so much need. And that was number one, like the belief that we could make it so much better. I also believe that shipping protection itself is a part of the stack that I would say is undervalued currently. And the way I would say it is that you've got like Gorgeous as a help desk, they solve service issues. You've got returns platforms. I think that the way that shipping protection has been done so far makes it seem like a smaller problem or a smaller solution that actually is. And that if you go out and actually dig deeper into that partnership, you actually create a more custom solution, you create more value for merchants. So it becomes like, I believe that it becomes a core part of the stack that they have to have, and that it bridges service issues and returns in a beautiful way and becomes like an incredibly core component. And so I believe the entire space becomes more valuable by doing it right.
Where specifically is the industry of shipping protection or order protection missing the mark?
I think that number one, it's been that the focus has been on the platform being like the hero, the platform solving the problem. And if you look at like how Shopify's built or how Loop Return's built, the whole solution is on the merchant creating their experience. And so I think that the shipping protection space is fundamentally like missed that
or even
mark.
subscription. It's like subscription platforms.
Yeah,
it's
so
very
it's
much around that too.
fundamentally like platform experience or merchant experience. We're enabling the merchant to build their experience, and like, you know, they can deliver a beautiful experience to their customers while also making the decisions that improve their bottom line, like that are core to them.
I like that a lot because I'm familiar with the space. Meaning, like,
Yeah.
I know that there's so many competitors. Like,
Yeah.
it's mind-boggling how many order protection companies. So I was always curious, like, okay, like, what are you actually doing different? That makes total sense because anybody who I've met in the space, not everybody, but most people I've met in the order protection space, it's very much described as like, oh yeah, dude, it's so easy. Like, you turn it on and then like they make an extra $1 million to their bottom line, and like it's like pretty easy to make money. And I'm just like, that doesn't sound like revolutionary at all. Like it sounds like they should just shut the. You know what I mean? So
I think
it makes sense. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, for us, the way I would look at that scenario is we don't want a scenario where we're winning and the customer's not winning. We would consider that like negative. We want to ensure that we're driving massive value out. And I think that when we talk to customers, I think they come into these conversations, some of them, like, they're familiar with the space, thinking it's like a bidding scenario. And for us, it's not a bidding scenario. It's let's truly understand what your needs are. Let's build this for you. Let's go as deep as we need to make this like something that you want to keep forever. And let's keep modifying to make it better and better for you. And what I would say is, like, there's an amazing guy here in the Utah tech team, Matthew Holman.
Yeah.
Subscription Prescription. He, first of all, he is a great example of a net giver. We had our first conversation with him. We told him that we were going to do things differently. He's now been at a bunch of our events. He's also brought a lot of people to our events. But he's, come back and said that every person he talks to in our company, he's felt the difference, like up and down, like 5 different events. And I do think that, like, as we talk to merchants, it's a different scenario for them once we get like under the hood of it.
I love that. That's awesome. Talk to me a little bit about, because now I understand what you're going after in this market. You want the merchant to be able to customize and build their checkout experience. What's on the roadmap? Like, what things, as much as you can talk about, like, what are you expanding this industry to? Like, what else are you adding to the suite of products?
So there's 2 things that are coming out this year. And the first one is something that will increase loyalty for the merchant and drive up the date of the next purchase. And that one's about 5 weeks out. And we're really, really stoked about it. And then the second one is what we believe will be the first true enterprise product in this space. And it's something that allows them to use our technology to build the experience they want, and has a financial component to it for the merchant that doesn't exist anywhere. And if like L'Oreal or Home Depot or anyone else is going to use this model, it's going to be what we're launching late this year on that side of it.
Okay. Well, that's super exciting.
Yeah, we're really stoked about those. The space is changing. Shopify's changing. Shopify merchants have to work harder and harder to make sure they're efficient and they're making money. we're driving as fast as we can to put ourselves in the pole position as that space changes and put ourselves in a spot to deliver, like just continue to drive even more value to the merchant.
Interesting. Let me see what time it is. Okay, we're good. One sec.
Take your time.
In this space, in the order protection, shipping insurance. But by the way, is it shipping insurance or you? I've heard things like you're not allowed to say that or something.
No, you can say whatever you want. We I think that the problem to solve is order issues. And order issues is like bigger and more painful than just like the original loss, damage, and so on that was being solved. Like brands and customers feel it. Like they know the answer is like order issues are painful. The truth is that stack of problems are being solved like in a myriad of different ways, and a lot of them are still painful. And we're solving a lot of them today. And like as we continue to build, we want the customer and the brand to actually like, hey, there's one solution that actually solves that. That's what we're solving. Order issues.
I really like how you frame that. It's order issues.
Yeah.
We solve all of your order issues.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think that's how you become the first enterprise software in this vertical. Hey, we can solve all of your order issues and we plug into all of your existing tech. That's really interesting. Why do you think, I'm going to inject my opinion here a little bit. So this is just my opinion. Yeah. In my opinion, this space has attracted a lot of competitors who are a little bit less merchant focused and more, let's call it what it is. Like this space, you can have insane CAC to LTV, and the barrier to entry, at least from my perspective, what I saw, route, lightning in a bottle.
Yep.
Exploded. People are like, you can make money like that? What? And then a lot of people were like, I could build that product in a sprint. Right. So then they did that. And the product, what it created was, 10, 15, 20, 30 competitors who same business model as routes. Like click this button, it goes on, it increases your bottom line, and we make a crap ton of money on the back end. What do you think is the future of this space? Are a lot of those competitors going to slowly get weeded out and slowly get taken over by the more merchant-centric focused or merchant-focused competitors?
Yeah, I think that the answer is to give more and more and more to the merchant, to find out how to drive additional value and to anchor on like maxing the value out for the merchant. And I think that's the absolute answer. And that value is received like monetarily. It's received in the actual ease of use for them, the actual experience it creates for their customers, and the total stack that they're getting out of this scenario. And so I absolutely believe that the answer is to drive maximum value out. And ultimately, like shipping protection is a part of the stack. And I think the ultimate answer is that in the long term, it's part of a broader stack, and it'll need to be part of a stack to be a long-term solution.
Cool. I really like that take. Let's go back to route for a little bit. Route, lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Lightning in a bottle. What was it like just being a part of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, like route was really interesting for me personally because I spent the 5 years prior to that out of tech and building a brand. And route was like a true SaaS scenario. And we built like Orange Soda and Boostability, but we did them a really different way. We built those companies like with a very partner-centric approach, and we drove a lot of warm leads. I've done a lot of cold calling personally, but the teams that I built at Orange Soda and Route were like mostly on warm and inbound. Mm-hmm. And so, first of all, for me personally, like building Route was interesting. I was the VP of sales, and it was definitely like the model to go out and do a SaaS play. And so there was a lot for me to learn. And I would say that like, number one, like I worked with a lot of great people, learned a massive amount. I was the VP of sales through that first year.
Okay.
And through the Series A and afterwards. And, we got to the point where we had like 20 reps that were really, really successful during that time. And it was just incredibly, incredibly cool. The first day that I heard about, like when I talked to them, I thought I was just going to go in to help a buddy brainstorm on go-to-market. And it ended up being like a discussion where they were asking me to be the VP of sales. It's not what I planned on. And when they told me about the model, like to me, it was like, if merchants and customers want this, then it's unstoppable. Like that was my impression. And very, very quickly, like we found out that both those things were true. And what I would say is that we weren't able to do it the way that the merchants were asking for it. And I have a lot of love for the entire team at Route. And I also, had the chance to go to Loop and have a different experience there. And we've been able to go out and, execute on what we think customers were always asking for.
Interesting. Well, and I guess we'll see how this plays out at ShipInsure.
Yeah.
Because I truly think you guys are focusing on the needs of the customer. It'll be really interesting to see how your product expands. Because it's funny enough, it's actually a very untapped market. Like the use cases are just so narrow because I don't think they have the same vision as you guys. Well, awesome. First off, I need to. I think Route Sales created a bunch of sales reps with what's the word?
I'm not gonna pull you out of this one.
I'm trying to think of a slogan here. It's like Route, ruining sales reps' expectations since 2016.
Yeah.
so many Route sales reps, because there's a lot of Route sales reps because you guys were crushing it. It's like what's so funny is that you guys were so good, or at least like.
Yeah,
it was the SaaS product in the industry at that time. It was like lightning in a bottle. Any Route sales reps that I've talked to or interviewed, it's like, what you mean? Like, I can't just press a sequence button and people like sign up and I get a fat check. Like,
that
so
world
funny.
has changed completely already.
Yeah,
and I think honestly, like, there's a big shift going on across the board in all of SaaS. And the model of like, do a Series A, hire this many salespeople, do a Series B, hire this many salespeople. That model, I think, is also going away. And
totally agree with you there.
And I think sales have a massive role to play. But I think that like organic referrals, partnerships, and really like building a product that like has its own attraction and being able to build a community around that. I think those are going to be bigger elements of the future.
And being obsessed with providing value.
Yeah. Amen.
I just feel like that's where so many companies sort of fizzle out. It's like, well, they stopped really caring about the merchant. At the end of the day, like that's who we're building towards. And that should never stop ever, no matter how big you get.
100%. And I think that for us, like every day, it's just like, what are we doing today that's going to make the merchant the hero? What integrations can we build? What problems can we solve? What are our customers asking for? How can we reimagine this to create even more value for the merchant? And as we talk to merchants and have that kind of perspective, I think there's a magnetism to it.
Okay. And we have about 9 minutes left.
Well, we've covered a lot. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just imagine. Let's do an imaginary scenario. Let's just say I'm a $50 million a year brand and I'm selling apparel. How can ShipInsure help me? And let's say I have a 3PL. Maybe I have 2 3PLs. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that number one, like I love the scenario that you brought up that you're an apparel brand, and what I would say out of the gate is that. We acknowledge that different brands get value from this in very different ways. And if you are an apparel brand or if, let's say that you're a wine merchant, you're going to care about different items. And so if you're a wine merchant, the repurchases, the refunds, the experience for your customers are an absolutely massive impact on your daily business, on your customer, on the bottom line. If you're an apparel merchant, all those items still matter, but you don't have as many damages. It's just the reality. Like, you might be like, man, yeah, we get that, but it's not that big of a deal. And so with an apparel merchant, you dig in massively to understand, like, what is your current experience? What are you delivering right now? And, we look at it and we say, you know what? Like, what portion of your customers are women? About 70% of women choose to protect the order when it's available. There is an anxiety there. There is a nervousness that they have. How can we actually make this problem easier for them? How can we ensure they have an incredibly smooth experience? Like, how do they like it when it's a damaged product? What is that like? How many touch points is that for you? What is the cost of that damaged product coming back to you? What if that customer just took a picture and clicked a button and that problem was solved? Like, how many more 5-star reviews would you get? How would that matter to you? And then at the end of the day, for an apparel merchant, your bottom line is getting squeezed everywhere. What's the price that the customer would be thrilled with where you could still make a rev share? And let's customize that price to be the fit for you. Like, let's make it valuable to you. And by the way, like, which help desk you use? Use Gorgeous, perfect. We're integrated there. That would be a lot of it for an apparel merchant. And to be candid, like, apparel merchants, we work with apparel merchants that are getting the majority of their profit from our product. We work with, merchants in every category where that's the case. Some companies out there, they might be doing $40 million a year in revenue. Mm-hmm. They might be getting, their profits are getting squeezed. They might be getting half their actual profit from what we do. It's a big deal to them. They probably can't afford not to have it be a top line item for them this year.
So I didn't even know that for certain industries, like, this is a big part of profitability.
It's becoming if done right, and if you're delivering massive value to the merchant, it becomes an essential part of the stack. You can't turn it off if you turned it on. That's
really interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know it was that big of a deal.
Well, it can be a big deal because, I know of an apparel company. They're doing $40 million a year. Last year they did, 1.3 million in profit, and 1 million of it was from this product.
My goodness.
Now, that was a down year in profitability for them, but this product is very important to them.
Wow. I had no clue.
Yeah, it can be a big deal.
Okay. Wow.
I don't know if we use that clip or not, but
I actually think that was a great clip.
Yeah.
Okay. This will be my last question, unless you want to dive into anything else. So something you touched on something before. I'm also a believer that go-to-market for SaaS companies is fundamentally different. I'm a big believer in founder-led content and company content. I think part of this organic strategy is promoting yourself and your team as individuals, like, no matter how quirky or weird they are, just here's my team. We're up to some cool shit. Here's what we're doing. And I think more than ever, especially as AI continues to emerge, people want to buy from people. And we compete with a lot of robots in our space, meaning there's no faces on the website. It's like, if I go to netsuite.com, with Luminous, it's like, we're doing some cool, we're solving a problem that's really hard to solve, and we're doing it relentlessly.
Yeah.
Like, come look behind the curtain. Like, we're doing some cool stuff. It helps. Anyways, my whole point is, I think that is going to be a fundamental part of go-to-market. You hit on something that, honestly, is like a big takeaway for me, is this idea of scaling. the old way of scaling being like you get traction, then you do Series A, B, C, and it's literally just a formula of CAC to LTV with number of sales reps and AEs. I agree. I think that's broken. And the one part of the equation that I was missing personally was that I totally agree with you on is partnerships and ecosystem. Like you have to carve out your way. You have to carve out your space in the ecosystem. That is a big deal now. And that's my biggest takeaway from today's conversation, where I'm lacking.
Well, and I would say on the mirror of that like the founder-led growth and you being out there and your voice being out there and your company being out there, like I admire that about how Luminous approaches it. And I think in your space specifically, that it's incredibly stark. And having been at Loop, we worked with a whole stack of ERPs, and most of that is, really, really painful interactions. And an ERP that you can actually connect with and work with and speak with and solve problems with, and that like opens itself up to the ecosystem and operates that way, I think stands out in a huge way. And I would say that for me personally, like, being out there, being the public figure, like it's probably the least comfortable thing to me, but I do agree with you that it's like the right way to do it and something I want to embrace a lot more.
Yeah. Honestly, just to give you some feedback from this conversation, I think you have a natural energy that this idea that we were talking about of just being a giver, I think you exude that energy and I feel it. Like I really do. Honestly, just from our interaction, it like something was conveyed to me that wasn't before. So I would encourage you to
get out there,
put more content out there, because like that really helped me. Like
that's awesome.
I got a ton of value out of this conversation, and it really showed me from your experience and how you've built things in the past, like where we're lacking and where we need to focus on. So very helpful. And
that's
I appreciate
amazing.
that.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's the episode. Like and subscribe. Jared Ward, Ops Unfiltered. See you guys later.